TJ Watt is the favorite for Defensive Player of the Year after tying Michael Strahan's sack record, despite only playing in 15 games. He's been a candidate for the award multiple years in a row and has undoubtedly become one of the best picks in the 2017 draft. A draft where 29 players were selected ahead of him. In this video, we're going over who those 29 guys are and how their careers have gone so far. By the way, that list includes several edge rushers who were directly picked instead of Watt. Starting with number 1, we have Myles Garrett. It'll be interesting to watch how Garrett and Watt's careers continue to pan out. Garrett has been able to meet the expectations of a number 1 pick. He was one of the best players in the league this year and should once again be joining Watt as a first-team All-Pro. Still, so far, Watt has a slight edge. At 2, we have one of the most memorable picks of this draft with Mitch Trubisky. Of course, he's remembered for his 4 underwhelming years in Chicago. Now he's currently backing up Josh Allen on the Bills. I personally think a team will give him a starting opportunity in the future. Next up, Solomon Thomas. I remember watching the 2016 Sun Bowl with Thomas and Trubisky squaring off. There was talk of first-round selections, but in no way did I expect these two to go 2 and 3 overall. Thomas failed to make much of an impact on the Niners, but had the best year of his career with the Raiders in 2021. At 4, there's always risk taking a running back this early. Leonard Fournette had some ups and downs for the Jaguars that eventually led to his release. He then joined the Bucs, won a Super Bowl, and had the most efficient year of his career in 2021. Next, Corey Davis has had some solid years, although he's yet to hit 1,000 receiving yards in a single season. He signed with the Jets this past year, but had his season shortened due to injury. Jamal Adams was a great playmaker for 3 years on some bad Jets teams. He was then traded to the Seahawks, where there have been some serious questions on how to use his skill set. Mike Williams has become a key part of the Chargers passing game. He had the best stretch of his career in 2021, but there have been some frustrating inconsistencies with his game. Number 8, Christian McCaffrey quickly became one of the best running backs in the league. In 2019, he was named a first-team All-Pro, but has spent the majority of the last 2 seasons on injured reserve. John Ross flew up the draft boards after his record-breaking 40 time. Unfortunately, it's looking like that speed will never correlate to on-field production. Ross flamed out on the Bengals and spent the last year on the Giants. At 10, we have the one pick on this list undoubtedly better than TJ Watt due to positional value. Patrick Mahomes has already won an MVP and Super Bowl MVP. I mean, come on, you don't need a refresher on him. Another great pick here with Marshawn Lattimore. He's been a Pro Bowler 4 times and beat out all the other defensive players on this list for Rookie of the Year. This past season, he signed a massive extension with the Saints. At 12, Deshaun Watson was looking like a great pick as one of the top quarterbacks in the league, but obviously the current legal troubles have put a damper on that. 13, Hassan Reddick's career started off a bit slow, but he's picked things up the last couple of years after reaching back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, playing for the Cardinals and Panthers. Derek Barnett hasn't quite lived up to his first-round status, but he's been solid for the Eagles overall, and he'll forever be remembered in franchise history for his part in Super Bowl 52. Malik Hooker didn't pan out how the Colts envisioned. They let him walk after the 2020 season, and he signed with Dallas for around vet minimum. He's played a decent amount for a much improved Cowboys defense this year. Next up, Marlon Humphrey, who has become the Ravens' best defensive player. He got hurt this year, but he's been an elite corner since 2019. He's been named first-team All-Pro and somehow forced 8 fumbles in 2020. Jonathan Allen has helped form a talented D-line for Washington. He's coming off his best year yet and has become one of the top interior defensive linemen in the league. He tallied 9 sacks this past year and was named to his first Pro Bowl. Next, we have Adoree Jackson. He's been solid in coverage when healthy as a pro for both the Titans and Giants. A deserving NFL starter, but has never taken the step toward elite status. O.J. Howard was the first tight end off the board. He contributed his first 3 years for the Bucks, but has sort of fallen by the wayside since Gronk's arrival. Cam Brate beat him out for the second tight end spot, and even when there's been opportunities after injuries, Howard just hasn't been able to do much. He needs a change of scenery next year. At 20, we have Garrett Bowles. In 2019, John Elway was calling out Bowles after years of disappointment, and the team then declined his fifth-year option. But in 2020, things turned around and Bowles got his big contract. He's regressed this year, but at least Denver knows the potential is still there. Next, Jared Davis. He had a pretty good start to his career, but things went downhill after that. The Lions declined his option in 2020, and he's been a contributor for the Jets this past year. In 2021, Charles Harris was on his third team in 3 years. After being traded for a 7th-round pick 1 year and signing a cheap 1-year contract for the lowly Detroit Lions, it seemed the bust label was all but guaranteed. Even so, he put together a solid year and turned out to be a good bargain for the Lions. But none of that changes the nightmare pick it became for the Dolphins, taking him over TJ Watt. At number 22, Evan Engram was looking like a good pick his rookie year. Problem is, every year since, he's failed to meet that production. There's been injuries, there's been drops, it's really just been a frustrating career to watch. Like OJ Howard, a change of scenery could help. Garyon Conley is a player who would look like an absolute liability 1 week, then shut down a top-tier receiver the next week. The Raiders eventually traded him to the Texans. He spent 2020 on injured reserve and is currently a free agent. 25, Jabril Peppers has had an up-and-down career. He came into the league on an 0-16 Browns team and was then sent to the Giants in the Odell trade. His first year there, he started almost every game, but this year his playing time has been a bit more sporadic. Takk McKinley showed some promise early on for the Falcons, but his tenure there ended in a release. This year his play was uneven for the Browns, but had some positive developments. His season was cut short by injury, but overall he'll be remembered as yet another edge rusher taken ahead of Watt. 27, Tre'Davious White. Not gonna see any regrets up in Buffalo over this one. White is a special player who quickly became one of the best corners in the league. In 2019, he led the NFL in interceptions and was named a first-team All-Pro. Next up, I don't always like diving into hypotheticals because of the butterfly effect, but imagine a Cowboys defense with TJ Watt lining up alongside Micah Parsons. That could have happened maybe, but instead Dallas opted for Taco Charlton, who only lasted 2 years there and spent this last year ironically as depth behind Watt in Pittsburgh. 29, David Njoku was looking like he'd get lost in the Cleveland tight end mix at one point. This year he's elevated his play and earned himself some money as well. This technically would have been the Browns' second chance at pairing Garrett and Watt together after opting for Peppers earlier. Of course, with the 30th pick, the Steelers happily took Watt. The question at this point isn't whether he'll win Defensive Player of the Year this year, but how many of those awards he'll end up with when it's all said and done.